The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your SuperChats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Another day of Jets interviews and Jets interview requests. We're going to talk with Matt O'Leary about where things stand. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Man, our Jets are primed to win another offseason, baby. Jets green each and every day. Will the playoff drought finally end? Who's the coach? Who's the GM? Who's the quarterback? At least we have Garrett Wilson. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinn Williams. Prepare to be underdogs. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Click the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're talking about the latest with the GM and head coach search. Albert Breer even has a GM candidate that he believes is the pairing if Aaron Glenn gets the job. So we'll talk about that and more, but we say hello right now to one of the best Jet content creators out there. Matt O'Leary joins us now. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Jake, how's it going? Excited to be on here and talk about 5,000 different names with you today.
So let's start with this. You have not been asked to interview for either job, right?
No, I guess my notice got lost in the mail or something like that because I am not one of the names for either position, too. So I had a 50-50 chance, right, of landing either the GM or the head coaching spot, but none of them, no.
So we were going through this before the show. The volume of requests / interviews. So here's what we have. We think this is right. The Jets, to this point, have either interviewed or requested 17 head coaching candidates. And we know that they've completed, because they've announced it, 15 total general manager candidates so far. So 32 total names have either been requested or have had at least one interview with the New York Jets, some in person, some virtually. And right before we signed on, I saw a report that the Jets will be interviewing Texans OC Bobby Slowick later today via Zoom as the Texans get ready to play the Chiefs in the divisional round of the playoffs. As someone who used to cover the Texans and knows a lot of people in that market still, I don't want Bobby Slowick, but we'll start there, Matt. Your thoughts on him as a candidate?
Yeah, the timing of it is very strange because he was a big name a year ago after everything that happened with CJ Stroud in his rookie season, comes in and was just terrific out of the gate. But I thought Stroud and the Texans offense really took a step back this year and have not been great. And when you look at the two times that they've played the Jets the last couple of years, I thought Bobby Slowick got thoroughly outcoached in both of those games by the Jets staff that they just let go. So do we want to hire the guy who's gotten coached under a bus 2 years in a row by the Saleh staff? I don't know if that makes a ton of sense. I get it. He's an offensive guy. He did have success in year one with CJ Stroud, but I think I've soured on him a little bit this past year, and he needs to prove it to me as another year as a coordinator, I think, before I'm considering for him for a head coaching spot.
So I could tell you this. There was a thought in Houston that Bobby Slowick was going to be fired. And this was a real thought because of how poor the Texans offense was after such a great year a season ago, as you brought up, with rookie year CJ Stroud. My old co-host on the radio in Houston, he covers the Texans every day, has a Substack about them. He wrote an article that came out on December 30th, so not that long ago, with the headline, "Who could the Texans look at as their new offensive coordinator?" So this was a real storyline in Houston. You do not want to hire Bobby Slowick. I'm not saying eventually he can't be a good candidate, but he hasn't had enough success where I'm like, okay, here we go. We're making Bobby Slowick the OC here. I don't want to go down that path.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It would be different if this was a year ago, and it was after the success that they had, with a surprising season. They make the playoffs with CJ Stroud in year one. But, like I said earlier, I think he needs another year as a coordinator and a bounce back one. I think he's going into 2025, assuming he stays as the Texans OC, on the hot seat. I think there's a lot of pressure on him and for CJ Stroud to get going in the right direction after what was a disappointing 2024 season.
Another name to watch, and this came out yesterday, Matt. Jeff Hafley was requested to speak with the Jets about their head coach opening. He's the former Boston College head coach. He was there for 3 years. He leaves BC because the Packers hired him to be their defensive coordinator, and he did a really good job this year with that defense. And now the Jets have requested Hafley to interview for the job. He is a local guy. He's from Jersey, so the Jets love to be like, he's from the area. But Hafley, your thoughts on him as a potential candidate?
I don't view him as a front runner for this job. It's interesting, right? Because you're taking someone who was a head coach at the collegiate level, not at a huge program though, and then who did a really nice job in a season as a defensive coordinator. But again, this is really not the route that I was hoping that the Jets would go here. I get it. They're casting this wide net. I think we're going a little too wide here, Jake. I think we've reached the point where it's getting a little bit ridiculous. He was the 17th candidate added to the Jets head coaching list, and I don't know if he's going to find his way even into the top 10 of names in this finish.
To me, I have no problem with the quote-unquote wide net of names. The issue with saying you're casting a wide net and then the optics of not speaking with 3 coaches out there that have won Super Bowls in Mike McCarthy, in Pete Carroll, and even John Gruden, I think it looks terrible, not to mention the fact, to this point, we haven't seen any interview requests for Liam Cohen. We haven't seen any interview requests for Cliff Kingsbury or Todd Monken, and maybe some of these names don't have interest in the job. Fine, but that needs to get put out there because it looks terrible. Let's be blunt, that you're casting this wide net and you give the Maryland coach Mike Loxley an interview who's got no chance of getting the job, or you're going to meet with Ron Rivera and you're not going to sit down and at least have a conversation with some of these coaches out there who have championships on their finger. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially on some of the names that you rattled off who are coordinators that the Jets didn't reach out to. And my assumption, but again, it's only an assumption because we don't know this to be true, but the Jets interviewed both Kingsbury and Monken in the past. So maybe from their perspective, they didn't want to go down that road again and interview for the Jets job, but at least make that well known. We're kind of just assuming that's the case, but it could be the other side that they just have from the Jet side, that they have no interest, which is something that I don't understand. And, even for someone like me, I'm not the biggest Mike McCarthy fan, but optics wise, it doesn't look right if you are not at least talking to him when you have these guys who just don't make, even Brian Greasy, he's been a quarterback coach for 2 years and he's getting an interview. It doesn't compute to me.
Where things stand right now, what do you think a timeline is for actual hires to be made?
I would hope the general manager hire comes soon, within the next week or so, just because you have some events coming up like the Senior Bowl. Before we know it, it's going to be time for the NFL Combine, and then free agency's right around the corner. Excuse me, after that. So I would hope the GM hire comes first and within the next 2 weeks. And then I would assume GM another week or head coach another week or so after that. But we haven't even seen anyone get a second interview yet as a general manager. They talked to Dimitrov over a month ago, and they have not added him for a callback on a second interview. So who knows? At this rate, we could see another 2-3 names added to this list. It just seems like it continues to climb day by day instead of being narrowed down.
You bring up Dimitrov. I mean, he was the first interview, and we've heard nothing about any of these guys getting a second round of interviews. We know Tennessee has already put out there who they're going to be speaking to for a second time. I feel like the Jets this week you'd think would start second round of interviews for the GM, because you're right. There are events coming up where you'd like to have at least one member of your leadership team in place. And obviously, I think unless it was Rabel, they're going to likely hire the GM first. And then that GM, you would think, I say you would think because it's the Jets, you would think that GM would have some involvement in who the head coach would be, right?
I would hope so. Absolutely. And it's strange too, because the Jets fired Joe Douglas in season so they could start this search earlier and get a jump on everyone. And it's a team who decided after the fact that they were going to fire their general manager is already starting their second interview. So I kind of just wonder, like, what was the point of moving on from Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas in season if your plan was to get this jump and the names just keep coming and it's not getting narrowed down, while other teams who fired their general manager coach after the season seem to be narrowing their list.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. We're talking with the great Matt O'Leary here on the show. Matt is as good as it gets when it comes to talking about the Jets. Make sure, if you haven't already, you subscribe to his channel. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Please click the like button. That's the thumbs up button down below if you haven't already. I mean, they're interviewing everyone, Matt, but no Green Bean for GM, your co-host on the Talking Jets panel. What's the deal with that?
I take offense to that. I know Green Bean does as well. We've been campaigning for this for a while. But yeah, we got to get our guy Green Bean in there somehow, man. I don't know how they do it, but he's a very opinionated guy. He's funny and he's been through it. So he's seen a little bit of everything.
If you're watching live right now and you've been following along, for every membership you gift, you're entered in the latest Asmaniac raffle. You also could just become a member yourself, like what Michael did. So he's in on our next raffle for one raffle entry. He has a chance to win a Garrett Wilson signed helmet, or just added yesterday, Jet fans, the autographed and authenticated signed Hall of Famer Joe Klecko jersey. So please gift the membership or send in a $20 super chat for 5 raffle entries in our next raffle. Matt, let's talk about now, just the candidacy of Aaron Glenn, because it feels like there's a lot of momentum now for Glenn to be this team's next GM. Albert Breer wrote in a story that came out with Sports Illustrated yesterday that apparently a name that he has heard that be a GM candidate to work with Aaron Glenn is a guy who interviewed for the Jets, Lance Newmark, who is the assistant general manager with the Washington Commanders. Breer saying, quote, as far as guys he'd pair with, referring to Glenn, I've heard Washington Commanders assistant GM Lance Newmark did well interviewing with the Jets. So your thoughts on a potential Newmark and Glenn GM and head coach pairing?
Yeah, I think it would be an interesting duo. Obviously they overlapped in Detroit, before we got the promotion here from Newmark as he was moved from a player personnel guy over to the assistant general manager with the Washington Commanders. He's been in the league a long time, so is probably ready to get that crack. And for Aaron Glenn, it feels like he's the favorite to me, Jake. Like all signs are pointing to him getting this job, I would assume. There was a report yesterday from Brian Costello that his preference is the New York Jets, in this head coaching cycle. We know that he's gotten interviews pretty much everywhere, and he's been linked to the Saints because he was a coach there for so long. But I would be excited about this duo. I'm going to be honest with you, Newmark wasn't necessarily in my top 2 or 3 candidates initially. But I think the more you dig into his past and how he's a part of the turnaround of both the Commanders and the Lions, I think it makes him an interesting candidate for this job. He's
definitely an interesting candidate. My thing is, and look, they could just hire 2 guys who have never been GMs or head coaches before, because they do that a lot. I would hope at least one of the 2 hires is someone that has been in that role before. I just feel like the Jets get in these situations where you bring in 2 new people to these roles and they're learning on the job in New York, especially with the Jets and their situation right now with the playoff drought being what it is. I just feel like that's such a brutal situation. I get it. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were first timers in Detroit and they turned it around, but I just don't have a whole lot of faith in the Jets bringing in 2 new timers and it working out. They got to prove it to us for sure. Your thoughts on the possibility, if this is the case, of just 2 new time, first timers in GM and head coaching roles?
Yeah, like you just pointed out with the Lions, it could work. That's a good example of it. But I think it's a legitimate concern that you have when, in the Jets history, more often than not, it feels like they're hiring first-time head coaches, first-time general managers, and specifically with the head coaches, more often than not, it seems like it's coming on the defensive side of the ball, a defensive coordinator being made the head coach. So to those who are against the idea because it's something they've done before and it hasn't worked out, I get it. Again, it's a legitimate concern. Unfortunately, I think with pretty much every single one of these candidates, you can find a flaw with or find something to be concerned about. I think you just have to pick some traits that you like and hope those are the ones that really shine rather than the flaws. But again, just to reiterate, I think it would be a valid concern if that's something you're worried about.
Super chat, any questions for Matt or I to answer or to get your comment read on the air? Your thoughts on Albert Breer reporting Lance Newmark as a name to watch for a GM to pair with Aaron Glenn. I do think, though, Matt, and tell me if you think this could happen, maybe the reason why they have interviewed the volume of GM candidates the way they have, right? As of now, there's 17 GM interviews that have taken place. Maybe they make 2 front office hires like what Carolina did a year ago. They hired a GM and a director of football ops. Maybe the vast amount of candidates they've interviewed, they hire, an old school football guy to oversee everything and hire the scouting staff and all that. And maybe a Mike Greenberg guy that kind of oversees the contracts and salary cap ramifications and how they implement, analytics into the front office. I can't see why you'd interview that many candidates if you didn't at least think, hey, maybe we pair 2 of these front office guys together to form a front office that could kind of touch on so many different things.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially when you look at how barren at times it felt like the Jets front office has been the last couple of years. Like this year in particular, they made some moves before the start of the season and they never really replaced those guys. So the Jets putting an emphasis on the front office and putting more, bodies in the building, if you will, I think could be a good thing, especially if you're getting the 2 different perspectives. Like, Greenberg with the cap, Dimitrov is in this new analytical venture. Maybe one of those 2 guys with, as you mentioned, that old school, more football guy on the scouting side would be a duo that would work well. And what kind of title or role that would be for the one who's not hired as a candidate, as a GM candidate, I don't know. Maybe it is, the president of football operations, or it's some other made up, so to speak, title. But I like the idea of getting more voices in the room.
It'd be nice to, I don't know, have someone in there who's done the job you're asking them to do. Just an idea.
Yeah, would be nice. The Jets don't seem to do that very often. So can we count on it happening? I don't know, but I don't think it's a bad idea.
What are your thoughts on Aaron Glenn? It feels like a lot of people have continued to connect him to the Jets. And I'll be honest, I like Aaron Glenn as a candidate at the beginning of all this. He just reminds me a lot of Robert Saleh. And ironically, yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of the Jets hiring Saleh. So I played a clip from this very show of what I said: leader of men, learned from great coaches like Kyle Shanahan, going to be a CEO of the whole team. And that's a lot of what we're saying with Glenn. So I like Aaron Glenn. I'm just nervous about another first timer. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I like him. I don't think he is my top candidate, but I do find him very intriguing. I think what sets him apart from Robert Saleh is the fact that he's been here, number one. So I think he gets it a little bit more than what Saleh did, coming into this job. And also he has the scouting background too. Now he was a scout for a short time, but I think that will give him a different kind of perspective than what we saw with Robert Saleh, who was pretty much just an exclusive defensive coach his entire career. So again, it's valid to be worried about someone who's a first time in this role. We have no idea how it's going to go. But based on some of the other candidates, I do think he is someone who is deserving of a head coaching job. And I do hope that he can take over more of that CEO role. And I think at least by what I've watched from him, he doesn't seem as player friendly. Maybe not that the players don't like him, but Saleh was very like, I'm going to put my arm around you and like, we're in this together. Everything's going to be okay. Where I think Glenn can be a little bit more critical and harsher on his guys if he has to be.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And look, the more you watch Glenn, you come away liking him. First off, he said, go screw to the Patriots. Didn't want to be used as a token, Rooney Rule candidate. So you love that. And, he's a Jet, and he has said for years that his dream job is the Jets. The same thing that DeMeco Ryans said when the Texans hired him, right? So I do think there's something to that. I do think there's something to being here when they sucked with Kotite and then seeing Parcells come in and still having a relationship with Bill Parcells to this day. Like, I do think that matters and that excites me. It's just concerning because as great of a DC candidate as he is and as great of a leader as he appears, you just never know until these guys are actually in that job.
That's exactly it, and it's a risk you're going to have to be willing to take unless you want to go with a retread guy, which they've talked to a lot of guys who are retreads. They've also avoided names like you've mentioned before, like McCarthy and John Gruden and Pete Carroll. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Jets land on this. But I agree. I do think it's Glenn here. I would be almost surprised in a way if they go a different direction.
Here is one of Aaron Glenn's players, Matt. This is Alec Anzalone, one of the top linebackers in the league, star on the Lions. Here's Anzalone on the Adam Schefter podcast being asked about his DC Aaron Glenn.
I say this a decent amount. Everything that is said about Dan, as far as leadership and, culture and development and all those great things, it's him and AG in my mind are, two of the best I've been around, and they're on the same level. And I think, like you said, he's ready for a head coaching job. I know he wants it, and I've seen him develop just as a coordinator and a coach, and it's cool to be a part of. And I think that he's one of the best teachers that I've been around as far as defensive football too.
You said they're on the same level, though.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I think that AG's ready to be a head coach. I think that has all the qualities and command and leadership and culture setting that Dan has, and he's learned from Dan, and he's developed under him, and I think that he's ready to do it.
I mean, you like hearing that, obviously. And then one more for you, Matt. This made the rounds yesterday during Aaron Glenn's weekly media availability with the Lions beat reporters. Here's Aaron Glenn being asked about defensive coaches seemingly not winning a whole lot of Super Bowls.
I mean, Bill Belichick is a shining example of a defensive coach who won Super Bowls, but typically it's offensive coordinators. They come from the offense who become Super Bowl head-winning coaches.
Yeah.
Why do you think that might be? Is there?
Well, I don't know if that's truly accurate. I can just go off the top of my head with Bill Carr, Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick. That's won a ton of Super Bowls as a defensive coach. And here's the one thing that I would say about myself. I'm a coach. I just happen to be on defense. I understand the offense just as well as a number of people. So if you want to hire me, you're going to hire a coach. You're not going to hire a defensive coach. I'm going to talk to the offense just as much as I'm going to talk to the defense.
He says that you almost believe him more than maybe Saleh, but I do want to remind everyone, we all felt that way about Saleh too. He said all the right things at the press conference and all the hype around him. But look, every candidate's different. I forget which guest made this point. Like, if the Bills wanted to get it right after they fired Rex Ryan, they wouldn't have hired another defensive coach in Sean McDermott. Like, just because you failed with Saleh doesn't mean you can't hire Glenn. So I understand, that argument, of course, as well.
Yeah, every candidate is unique. And this kind of goes back to a point that I like to make about the NFL draft when, like, for instance, when the Jets took Sam Darnold out of USC and they took Mark Sanchez a few years earlier out of USC, and you're like, oh, you can't take USC quarterbacks. They don't work. It's like, well, can we scout the player and not the helmet? And I kind of feel the same way about coaches too. Like, yes, there are examples of it not working out with the Jets, but each individual is different. And if he sticks to his word, which is he's going to spend equal time with the defense and offense, then fine. But if it's going to be another repeat of what Robert Saleh did, which was essentially he was the head coach of the defense and they could never figure it out on offense, well, then the Jets are going to run into issues again.
100%. And look, there's other names I like, but we can't deny Aaron Glenn as a legit candidate. Adam Schefter basically said Glenn's getting a job during this hiring cycle. I feel like it could come down to the Jets versus the Saints, and I think the Jets would win that faceoff. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know that, I mentioned it earlier. He was a coach there for a long time with the Saints, but he has mentioned that this is his dream job. It's Costello had it, Samini had it, and I just like the Jets situation better. And it's not, even Jets bias saying that. I don't think the Saints have major cap issues. They have Derek Carr, who doesn't want to take a pay cut, and they have to make a decision there. And that roster, I don't think, is as good as where the Jets are. So I agree with you. I think the Jets do have the advantage there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Chats cut the line. Fiore is first up today. Thank you, Fiore. Jets not interviewing other top people. They make it easy for fans to support Glenn. Even their social media is putting Glenn content out today. Before the search started, he was not a consensus among fans. I do agree from the standpoint of this. If they had interviewed, let's say, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, who, by the way, maybe he didn't take the Jet interview request because he knows it's Aaron Glenn's dream job. I do think there's maybe something with that. And maybe Ben Johnson truly wouldn't be interested. And he's like, even taking a courtesy interview, I don't want to do that to Aaron Glenn. But all that said, I do agree. If you're not going to interview McCarthy or Gruden, who's got the personality that would rally a lot of people in the fan base, or you're not going to interview Pete Carroll, then by default, you look at the top candidates. And I think a lot of Jet fans in my life that I interact with on this show, and I'm sure your channel too, Matt, feels like it's Aaron Glenn, Brian Flores, and maybe the wild card being Josh McCown and Joe Brady. Like, it feels like it's those four as the ones that we're talking about the most as legit candidates because they haven't interviewed some of the names we talked about already.
Yeah, and I'm going to push back on Fiore's comment a little bit on the last line. I do think that Glenn was probably the second most popular name that I saw behind Mike Vrabel. I feel like most Jet fans had Vrabel as their number one. I did as well. That's who I wanted the Jets to hire. But then I feel like the next closest after that was Aaron Glenn because they have that, or he rather has that connection to the New York Jets from his time as a player and as a scout, after his playing career. But it is interesting that we've discussed it, but they're going to talk to, I keep going back to Mike Loxley, but they're going to talk to Mike Loxley and then not talk to McCarthy or Gruden or some of these other guys. It's a bit of a head scratcher.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. Cut the line. Grinch Mob Jets for life with a super chat. After witnessing what he did to Minnesota, I was definitely sold. If he shuts Washington down next, this guy's a force to be reckoned with. Glenn is the guy. Just need a great OC to complete the pick. Well, here's the bottom line. Easier said than done. Need a great OC. That's hard to find. Like, you can't just say, get a great OC. Like, you hope they can find a good OC, but that's no guarantee.
It definitely isn't a guarantee. A name that I've seen floated around that I think would be interesting is former Jets OC John Morton from 2017 with the connection that they had, in Detroit. I didn't mind John Morton. I know he was only here 1 year and it wasn't like they were an elite offense, but Josh McCown put up pretty good numbers with his number one target being Robbie Anderson in the passing game, and love him, but Bilal Powell is your number one running back as well. I thought he did some interesting things, so I wouldn't be opposed to that pairing. Is there anyone else at offensive coordinator you think would make sense for Glenn?
The only two names I could connect him to are Mark Brunell, who's the quarterback coach there, and Tanner
Engstrad.
Engstrad, who's the passing game coordinator. But if Ben Johnson leaves the Lions, you'd think one of those guys would be in line to be promoted to be the OC of the Lions, which is a better job than whoever the quarterback would be for the Jets in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, I believe, if memory serves correct, they were preparing to promote Engstrad if Ben Johnson took a job last year. So I know that's a popular name that Jet fans talk about, but I think if Ben Johnson leaves, my guess would be he gets the Lions OC job.
Here's my question. I don't remember why they got rid of Morton after 17, because he did do a good job. He leaves, and then who was the OC in 2018? I think it was Jeremy Bates, who was there for 1 year, and then he got fired when Gase came in, of course, because we had to hire the great Adam Gase, Kyle Shanahan before Shanahan, to help Sam Darnold take the next step. But why did they get rid of Morton? I don't remember.
Todd Bowles didn't like how much they threw the ball. He wanted to run the ball more.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. God. Oh, my God. They actually had a fun offense when McCown played that year.
They did. They put up 30 points a game a couple times. I tweeted out the number because I believe it was Steven Zantz, who does some stuff with Badlands, made the John Morton tweet. And I looked it up. With Josh McCown healthy in the 12 games that he played in whatever year that was, 2017, the Jets offense averaged 22.4 points per game, something like that, which is higher than what it was this year. I believe it was 19.9 points the Jets averaged.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up. It's unreal. Well, while we're talking about offense, obviously a lot has to happen before we even know what's going to happen with this guy. What are your thoughts on Rodgers and his future with the Jets?
Yeah, so I think ultimately the decision should come down to the new GM and new head coach to make that decision. I personally think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. I think how that last game felt against Miami felt very final to me. He hit the 500 touchdowns. He had the 4 touchdown performance. Devontae Adams kept the ball from him. Rodgers obviously kept the 500th touchdown pass, and then the last one to Breece Hall. They walked off the field together. what the announcers were talking about on the broadcast, it felt like, they have the meetings with the quarterbacks during the week. I think the vibe that they were picking up was that Aaron Rodgers was strongly consider retirement. I think that's the direction that he's going to go. Maybe he wants to continue to play, but I don't know. I'd put it at a small percentage chance that he's back with the Jets next year.
Hit the like button, comments, questions, super chats. We're talking with Matt O'Leary. Reminder for those of you tuning in that because you all have gifted so many memberships, the Joe Klecko autographed jersey is now available to be won in an Asmaniac raffle. Gift the membership to be in. Same with the G5 helmet. If you send a $20 super chat, that gets you 5 entries in the raffle. All right. Comments, questions, super chats. You heard me say it. Matt, let's do some calls right now. On the Gustbuster hotline is Kyle Clifton, who starts us off. What's up, Kyle?
What's going on, fellas? So, I don't really care about the head coach until we get the GM in place. As long as they've impressed in the interviews, we feel like they're ready, and the GM is clearly aligned with them. So if it's Newmark and Glenn or Spielman and Glenn, they have some shared work experience, and they've gone over players together, and they've been able to recognize that this guy doesn't have a motor and wouldn't work in our system, or this guy has habits that are going to drive me crazy during draft prep. I want to make sure that they're fully aligned. I don't want McCagnon and Bowles thrown together. I don't want Idzik and Rex thrown together, where they don't have a pre-existing working relationship. As far as the draft goes, I was watching Dom C on Boy Green earlier this week, and he was saying that the Jets are thanking their lucky stars that they took Olu this year rather than waiting to 2025 when there's no tackles out there. So that presents a challenge for us. If at right tackle, we look at Moses and we're thinking we're on the fence about bringing this guy back. He's had some injuries, getting a little bit older. There might not be a whole lot out there, and there might be a lot of people vying for his services. They were talking about a lot of the deeper position groups within the class, and tight end and so on, and running back might be some of the deeper groups. So I wanted to get your guys' feelings on that. Would that be something where we might entertain? And I know that it behooved us to do this to begin with, moving AVT back to tackle if it made sense.
I wouldn't do it. I'm not touching him. He's going into the last year of his deal. I'd just bring back Morgan Moses on a 1-year deal and draft someone.
The only reason I say that is because for him, he might want to do that because it might increase his value if he's shown that he can effectively play out there.
But he's not as good there as he is as a guard.
That's what I was going to say too. I think he's better at guard, and I kind of like that he finally settled into a spot at right guard this year.
Right. And that might have a chain effect, right? Is Tippmann better at guard? I kind of feel like he is.
Then who's playing center?
That's a good question. That's where I was getting to.
Why not just you have 4 of your 5 guys under contract, Kyle. Why not just re-sign Morgan Moses on another 1-year deal? He loves being here. He's a high character
Here's
guy.
why. Because I'm tired of seeing these pop-up snaps from Tippmann after 2 years. It's driving me nuts.
But has it cost them anything? Has it hurt them?
Are we going to wait for it? I mean, I see it happening every game, and I'm hoping that it goes away.
He graded out as a top 10 center, and a lot of the offensive line rankings that evaluate that stuff. Tippmann is the least of their problems right now.
Okay, it's not the first time we haven't seen eye to eye. But
Beast Breaker's on the line. I know you're a big fan of his, Kyle.
Yeah, sure. Hey, what's up, Beast Breaker? I'm not particularly a big fan of his takes, but I have no problem with Beast personally.
All right, that's good to know.
All right,
Kyle, appreciate it. Oh man, I mean Joe Tippmann's snapping stuff. That was a story over the summer. It really was not a problem in the regular season games this year. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit overblown. I think he was mostly fine snapping the ball. There were a few examples. Yeah. I'm not going to say that he was, perfect snapping it, but I think he's so good in the pass protection and run blocking. I thought he took a really big step forward. He was healthy this year. He played every snap. I think he is the center of the future for this team. I agree with you. He's like one of the last people that I'm thinking about.
They have so many things they have to figure out. So Kyle's suggestion of, well, you move ABT, and then I'm like, who's playing guard? He's like, well, then move Tippmann to guard. Then it's like, you need a new center. It's like, why not have continuity year over year? Get a better offensive line coach, get a better offensive scheme so they can run the ball better, because I do think they have the running backs and the talent up front to block for a game-changing running back like I believe Breece Hall still is. Like, to me, that's a strength to this team. Don't weaken it by moving pieces around to maybe be better, but I think they'll be better this year with a better coach, better scheme, and continuity.
Yeah, I agree. That's such an underrated point too, is the Jets offensive line. They never have any continuity whatsoever. It feels like they're, plugging guys in or moving guys around. Once they had their 5 figured out and Olu in at left tackle, I thought the Jets offensive line looked significantly better. I'm not saying it's elite unit, like a top 5 unit in the league, but I would say they were at least a league average offensive line, which is a massive improvement. And then, as you said, you give them another offseason to work together, another year under better coaches, and I think they improve from there. I'm a big fan of bringing Morgan Moses back too, like you mentioned, and drafting someone maybe in the middle rounds to develop behind him for a year.
I went and looked at the offensive line of the Packers and the Eagles, because we always hear about how good their O-lines are, right? So I did this recently over the weekend because they were playing in the playoffs. And I looked at the Packers, and they don't have anyone that was drafted in the first round on their offensive line. Not one player who starts for them on their O-line was a first-round pick. Philadelphia, I think, has 1 or 2 if you count Becton, but Becton was not their draft pick. They moved him to guard and had a good O-line coach that could fix him, and Becton stopped eating McDonald's every day and actually played to the talent we knew he had. So, like, my point is, 2 of the better offensive lines in the league, I think between the 2 of them, only had like 1 guy they drafted in the first round that was starting for them. So you don't need to spend first round picks on O linemen. You have to hit on guys on day 2, day 3, and develop them. Tippmann they hit on. ABT is a first round pick. Olu is a first round pick. Simpson was a good free agent signing. Bring back Morgan Moses, draft someone, and figure out your last spot on your O line. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think that's the way, honestly. And I think Morgan Moses is a good vet to keep with that young group. And there's no reason that you can't develop a middle round pick to play right tackle. I know the Jets missed on it with Max Mitchell and Carter Warren. They weren't able to take that next step, but hopefully this next general manager, and also, as you mentioned, a better offensive line coach, maybe they can develop talent a little bit better on the offensive side of the ball.
Joe Douglas missing on draft picks that weren't in the top 25. That never happened.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, right? Like, I know we all love the 22 class, and you can go through and talk about a lot of his top 40 picks that hit. But after the top 40, there's a few nice defensive finds, but the offensive side was abysmal. And I think the biggest reason for his downfall.
Yep. That and really the biggest decisions he had to make, Saleh, Becton over Wirfs, Zach Wilson, not getting a backup for Zach. Obviously, he made the Rodgers move. You can't kill him for him getting hurt, but you can kill him for not getting a backup. Like, all the quote-unquote big moves, like the biggest moves you got to make, quarterback. Like, also, let's not forget, he had Darnold and chose to move on from the guy. So his evaluation was Zach Wilson will be a better pro than Sam Darnold at the end of the day, which is just not true. Like, he just missed on too many of the quote-unquote big decisions you make as a GM. He had more than enough time, more than enough leeway to turn it around, and the most amount of games he won in a single year was 7 3 times.
Yeah, it was time. I mean, he had the job for essentially 6 years. He had 5 drafts, 6 seasons to get it right, and unfortunately was never able to. And hopefully this next guy can get it right and develop the mid-round talents.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Michael writes in 2018, the Jets scored 45 more points than the 2017 Jets. Let's keep it real. So I highlighted this comment because, Michael, remember, Josh McCown got hurt at the end of 2017. I think they were 5-8 with him as the starting quarterback. So if you do the numbers of just the McCown starts, I think they were way more efficient than they were in 2018 when they had to throw probably a lot more because they were down in a lot of games. That team was worse. They were 4-12 that year.
Yeah, I mean, after McCown got hurt, they scored 0, 19, 7, and 6 points. I think that's gonna weigh it down a little bit with Bryce Petty playing quarterback.
So McCown, he started then 12 games that season?
Yeah, he got hurt in that Denver game. So he technically started 13, but I think he only threw like 10 passes or something like that. So I don't even really count that one.
Yep, don't count it. That's a good point. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother, Zach Asman, is in the chat. And he writes in, need more Beast Breaker. living legend. Now, I want to highlight this comment because Zach Asman today is celebrating a birthday. So happy birthday to my brother. And I always know on my brother's birthday, it is the anniversary of the greatest day of my life as a Jet fan. Today is the 14-year anniversary of the can't wait game in Foxborough.
To all the non-believers, to all the non-believers, anybody can be beat. We're pissed off. People gave us no chance, like we barely made it in playoffs. We're a good football team. For all you non-believers, disrespect us, talk crap about the defense like we ain't the third best defense in the league. All we hear is about their defense. They can't stop a nosebleed. 25th in the league, and we the one to get disrespected.
Congratulations. See you in Pittsburgh.
Can't wait.
January 16th, 2011, Matt. 14 years ago today, the last time the New York Jets won a playoff game and the last time I experienced true happiness rooting for this team.
Makes me feel really old because that's one of my favorite memories, not only as a Jets fan, but just a sports fan in general. Unfortunately, unlike you, Jake, I'm not a Yankees fan, so I have not seen one of my teams win a championship. So that divisional round win against the Patriots is one of my finest moments as a sports fan. That's a long time ago. I was in 10th grade when the Jets played that game. This is a long, long time ago. We need that streak to come to a close, but I will always have fond memories of that game.
The pregame speech by LaDainian Tomlinson to this day still gives me chills. I tweeted it out this morning. I mean, that team was special, man. And if they just showed up for the first half a week later against Pittsburgh, or they just got off the field on 3rd and 6 and didn't let Antonio Brown move the chains, if Sanchez got the ball back, I will go to my grave believing they were going down the field and winning the game.
Oh, absolutely. I think any Jets fan will tell you that, but that's just how that team was. I mean, they won a lot of games, but how many overtime games did they play? How many final drives did they have? Even, a couple weeks earlier against the Colts in the playoffs, they had to go down the field and score as time expired to win the game. That's just how that team was. And I think every single Jets fan was thinking the same thing.
That was, man, best day of my life, I can tell you. And it's my brother's birthday, so happy birthday, Zach. Hopefully the Jets will play a playoff game on your birthday again someday. That'd be nice.
That would be nice. Happy birthday, Zach.
God. Dan, super chat, cuts the line. Dude, I get the AR argument, old and injury prone. I just don't see a better option. I wouldn't be excited for any other quarterback or quarterback combo. Hashtag bring back AR. Dan, if a new staff wants Rodgers back and he'd be willing to learn a new offense and truly be a part of a new offense and not just and then he's changing every play at the line and it's the Aaron Rodgers show again, and he would take a pay cut, which I think he would. I'm open to it. I just don't know if that's realistic. I think there's a lot of factors here. Plus, as Matt pointed out, he might just retire. We don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot would have to happen for him to come back. And it was pretty much everything you listed off. One, the new GM and new head coach are going to have to want him and keep him. I don't want this to be a coming from somewhere else. Oh, you got to keep Aaron. Oh, by the way, you also got to keep Aaron Rodgers. It should be up to the GM and the coach. He has to take a pay cut because you cannot afford that 2026 cap hit if he doesn't. He's got to be willing to learn a new offense, which I don't know that he's willing to do based on how the Jets have handled the last 2 years. And it can't be that we're going to change everything at the line of scrimmage, run the play clock down to 1 second, have a million delay of games and waste timeouts in the first and third quarter. I don't know if all of those things hit and that he comes back, but I do get those who are saying, well, what's the better option from an actual quarterback perspective? I don't know if you can guarantee there is a better option, but when you add all the other external factors like we just went through, it's a lot that has to break right in order for him to come back, I think.
You almost got to, to quote the movie Moneyball, if you move on from Rodgers, how you're replacing 28 touchdowns. Well, you got to build it in the aggregate. You got to be able to have an offensive scheme where you run the ball more, right? Breece Hall, you bring up the stat all the time. I reference it. 0 games this year with 20 carries or more. Insane. You have a really good number 2 running back in Braylon Allen, and even Isaiah Davis, he flashed as well. Why draft 2 running backs if you're not going to have an offense that's going to feature the run game? Well, the Rodgers checked out of a lot of plays. In the red zone, they always threw because he probably had no faith in the running game because the running game sucked. So it wasn't just Rodgers checking out. He saw it wasn't working because they did horrible when they had to try and run the ball at the beginning of the year. So can you replace the 28 offensive touchdowns from Rodgers by running the ball better, being more efficient on the ground? Can you have just a more efficient offense altogether, or your defense is improved so you get more turnovers and create extra possessions? Like, that to me is the key. It's not just about Rodgers' stats. It's better coaching, improving the defense, getting more possessions for your offense, and being able to run the ball and being more balanced. That's how you could maybe not have a quarterback next year that throws 28 touchdowns, but you're more efficient and can win more games than 5 this past year.
Yeah, I mean, they had the fewest rushing attempts by a pretty significant margin. They had 363. Next closest was the Raiders at 380. So 17 carry difference between last place and second to last. And they only had 8 rushing touchdowns on the season. So that number obviously needs to go up. They're never going to be a team like, Detroit that has 29, or Buffalo had 32 rushing touchdowns between Cook and Josh Allen. But can you get that number closer to middle of the pack? That's 15 touchdowns. That's essentially doubles your total there. So that goes a long way to replacing those 28 touchdowns, as you were saying.
Yeah, just like, to me, the fact that this team had no rushing attack is pathetic, because I don't know about you, but I didn't think Aaron Rodgers was going to play like an MVP this year. I wasn't counting on that. I feel like he played well enough that if this defense was what it was a year ago, and if they ran the ball the way they were able to run it at times last year, this year, despite Aaron not playing great, he played well enough for them to have way more than 5 wins. He gave them the lead late in several games that the defense blew. The kicking situation killed them. And I truly believe if they had a better rushing offense, maybe Aaron is healthier because he's not dropping back and throwing the amount of times he had to throw in that Denver game and the Minnesota game, which he got killed in those games, and it affected his play for weeks after that.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. I think what really ended up being the turning point was those 2 games back to back, because of how much he was getting killed, and against the 2 most blitzing teams in the NFL. And at that point, the Jets were really banged up on the offensive line, and it just was not working. And Tyron Smith was looking terrible. And Rodgers, he got hurt in the Denver game, got hurt again against Minnesota, tried to play through it. I think that was a big part. After coming back from the injury after the bye week, I thought he looked better outside of maybe a handful of games. The Buffalo one, obviously a real stinker, but not having any rushing attack to complement, I think, really hurt this team.
Ladies and gentlemen, our raffle entries continue, baby. Thomas is in the next Asmaniac raffle with 5 gifted memberships.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas.
Damn right you are, Boy Green. All right, Thomas J. Lepselter, you're a member. BetPage Chris, you're a member. WD, Jet Set Go, and Philip Hannon. You guys are all members. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate the support, Thomas. You are entered to win the signed Klecko jersey or the signed G5 helmet. All right. This one is from Nate, parentheses Nate. He is in the raffle for 5 entries with this $20 super chat. Wow. And he writes, shout out to my dad for surprising me senior year in high school, driving me to Foxborough 14 years ago. Probably only reason I'm in this chat. He joked that day that he's only taking me because he didn't know when the Jets would ever make the playoffs again. Well, shout out to your dad for that. But your dad might be the biggest jinx ever.
Yeah, he cursed the Jets. Thanks a lot, Nate. No, that's awesome. What a memory that must be.
Nate, is your dad's last name parentheses? Just for those who have been around a long time, you'll get the reference. Anyway, comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Gator writes in. He's got a wrench next to his name, so that basically counts as a super chat. Come on now. Don't you think that most big names we haven't interviewed, like McCarthy and Cohen, may know that Woody is the most embarrassing owner in the NFL and not worth wasting your career on? Maybe for some, like Cohen, it's like there's better jobs. He's not interested. McCarthy reportedly is interested in the job, and he interviewed with the Jets in 2019 when they hired Gase. And like, he's not in any position to not take interviews with the Jets. They interviewed Mike Vrabel, for crying out loud. Like, even if it's a leverage ploy, you're smart to interview with any team that wants to talk to you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is from their perspective, I think you take as many interviews as you can get. Gator does bring up a good point, though, like, and maybe that's why some of the guys aren't interested in this position, because of the Woody Johnson effect and other things like the quarterback, because that's, a major question mark for this team. But I don't know if it's, wasting your time worthy. I think it's always, in your best interest to talk to as many teams as you can.
Please talk to Gruden, man. He wants in. Talk to the guy. Talk to Carroll. Carroll's done interviews with 2 teams already.
Yeah, the Carroll one's really surprising to me. I think I like him the best out of this crop. because I know he's older, but he's had success in the NFL a lot more recently than a guy like Gruden has. But that's a little strange that they haven't went down that road.
I think Carroll would make a lot of sense for the Cowboys, right? They're a win-now team. He's the kind of guy that could, I think, handle Jerry Jones. That's his personality. Like, I think Pete Carroll would make a lot of sense.
I like that. I was going the complete other direction. I was thinking, Dion, like a flashy hire, but that's honestly what the Cowboys could use. I feel like he's a more stabilizing force in that organization.
Rick Kent checks in with a $20 super chat. Rick, we got you down on the raffle, and he writes in, shout out to Nate's dad for being psychic.
I hate that he was right. Sorry, Nate.
He cursed the team. He cursed us. Damn you, Nate. Your father. Addison super chat. Shout out to Rick Kent shouting out Nate's dad. Does anyone else want to shout out to Addison for shouting out Rick Kent for shouting out Nate's dad? It's a tongue twister now if someone wants to be a part of this one. Oh, man. I'm seeing a comment here, Matt. It's a very interesting comment. It is a comment from one of the most polarizing figures to ever come through the Jake Asman show. It's a comment from Stormrocks 877. This is Beastbreaker. He writes in, Jake, let me talk to Matt or Fireman Ed. Do you think you have what it takes to handle the beast, Matt?
I'm very excited for this. I haven't met Beast on like a show yet, but I have just recently seen him a couple of times on your show. So I'm excited to get into the Beast.
Beast has been quoted by saying the following: hate me or love me, you watched. And you know what? He's absolutely right. It is time right now to unleash the Beast.
Beast Breaker. 666.
Breaker.
The man who will kick your
The man that will kick your ass. And then he'd gabagoo.
Hey, Beast.
Hey, I love that song. That is classic. You'll never get rid of that. That's a classic hit. Now, Matt O'Leary, welcome aboard and welcome to the team.
Thank you.
And yes,
I'm excited to be here.
hope. Are you familiar with that name, Pantera?
Of course, Dimebag Darrell. I know my stuff. See?
Oh, Jake, I want to give a shout out to your brother. Happy birthday, big fella, and many, many more. You deserve it. And come on, let's not start jumping guns yet. I know we're all getting excited with these GMs and all that, but the three that will stand out: Rex, Aaron, and Flores. That's it. Nothing said.
Rex, Aaron, and Flores. So you want Rex as coach. What is Flores doing here?
Put him in a special teams department. And in the words of the great Harry Stone from Night Court, this case adjourned.
Wait, can I see your? You have a gravel there, Beast?
Nah, my spoon. Yeah. Do you remember Night Court? Do you remember the show Night Court?
Yeah.
Hey, who remembers Night Court? When Harry Stone would say, "Okay, that's adjourned, people. 5-minute recess." Thank you very much. Now, let's see who remembers Mario Kart.
Ooh, what a shirt piece. Look good.
1992. Hey, I got the poster, got the shirt. And Jake, this morning there's some fake people on there using my name again. Enough's enough. It's time to put them in the hole now.
Who do you want in the hole? You name it, Beast. Who do you want in the hole first?
Storm Rocks 877 Jr. I want that son of a bitch in the hole, and then this Bobby Beasley, put him in the hole. I want nothing to do with neither of them.
I'll tell you what, Beast. You know, I am a capitalist, and you have certainly contributed to my rent payment this month. So I'm going to give you.
Don't worry, I will.
All right. So you name who it is. Is that who you want? You want
yes,
the Storm person in the hole?
Yes, I want him in the hole. And and when we meet, you and I are going for tacos. We're gonna get some good. We're gonna get some good el pastor and good el carne asada.
Sounds like a plan, Beast. And I'll tell you what. This whole sentence is for Storm, whatever the hell, or the fake Beast Breaker guy that Beast just called out. We will see you later. Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the Sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it. Matt, your thoughts on your first Beast Breaker experience?
It was everything I thought it would be and more. I was watching yesterday as I was doing some work, and Neil and Beast Breaker was on at the same time, and I think that was the greatest combo I could have ever possibly imagined.
So I can't find the original person he wanted gone, but I did find this Bobby Beasley character, and he's in the hole, just like that. So, Beast, we got one of the two people you called out there. So there you go. Well done, sir. I did laugh when I saw this comment from Kyle. Jake, if you keep letting Beast on with other reporters, they might not come on anymore. Dude's a complete joke. Matt, are you? Well, one, you're not a reporter. You're a Jet fan like me. And two, are you offended after having a conversation with Beast Breaker? Are you boycotting my show?
I will not be boycotting the show. Contrary to popular belief, I will be glad to come back anytime you have me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Matt O'Leary. This is a super chat from Jason who says, shout out to Addison for shouting out Rick Kent for calling Nate's dad a psychic. All right, does anyone want to shout out Jason for shouting out Addison for shouting out Rick Kent for calling Nate's dad a psychic? Oh, my God. All right, one last super chat here, then we'll wrap up with Matt, and I'll stay on for the rest of the calls. There is no one on the line right now, so if you want in on the conversation, now is the time. Kyle says, the idea we're set on O-line because we have 4 of the 5 in place is dangerous. Our tackle depth sucks, and our plan at right tackle is Moses, who's pushing 35 off 2 years of serious injury, just trying to learn from Tyron. I agree, Kyle, but we're not saying the Jets are set as far as like long-term. We're saying they have 4 of their 5 guys in place. Matt and I both want them to re-sign Morgan Moses and still add to the depth by drafting people and signing better guys in free agency that could come in and not suck as bad as Carter Warren or Max Mitchell did this year anytime they had to play. So I think we agree that they need more depth. We're simply saying moving AVT from guard to tackle and then Tippmann from center to guard. You're just making more holes when you don't have to do that.
Right. Now you got to find a center if you do that. So I'm with Kyle. I think they definitely need more depth. How I would go about doing that is, as Jake just laid out, you bring back Morgan Moses, you draft someone in 3rd, 4th round, have them sit for a year, and then you could also sign a swing tackle in free agency too. Guys sign on the cheap, $4 million or less for a year for a swing tackle kind of player. And I think that goes a long way to improving your depth on that unit.
Big fella writes in, Beast, stay calm. I won't get you banned. Pantera is awesome. Way better choice than Dragon Force.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Dragon Force, but I do know Pantera.
Pantera, you approve?
Yeah, we approve. We like some. They're not necessarily Southern rock, but they have Southern influence, so I like it.
I like the fact that Beast and you seemingly bonded over your love of music.
Yeah, I mean Pantera, like that's not someone that I listen to a ton, but I do like music. I am a big music guy.
Bo writes in, shout out to Jason Picker for shouting out Addison, for shouting out Rick Kent, for shouting out Nate's dad. I mean, God,
I'm getting lost.
Bo, thank you very much. Matt, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can follow along at Matt O'Leary NY on the YouTube channel as well, covering all things New York Jets as we continue to break down all the names that are added to this ever-growing list.
Matt, continued success, man. Congrats on everything you do. You're a teacher now, by the way, so shout out to you for being Professor O'Leary.
Yeah, Professor O'Leary has made his return after, a 3 or 4 year hiatus, so excited to be back. But I said this before on your show, and I'll say it again. If the Jets hire a coach or GM on Monday or Wednesday between 9 o'clock and 12:30, I need Jake Asman to call me to break the news because I won't see it any other way.
I will do my best to give you that ring. It probably will happen. That's how it goes. I mean, it's, I had to do my Hassan Reddick traded to the Jets while waiting to board a plane back to New York from Houston. So it does happen.
I love it. Jake, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Matt, thanks so much for coming on as always. And we'll hear from Matt more throughout the offseason. So stay tuned for some info on that. Plus, I joined Matt and Richie and Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 on the Talking Jets panel on the AFC Roundtable YouTube page every Friday. So be on the lookout for that. All right, open phone lines if you want in on the conversation. Comments, questions, super chats. Cut the line. We're presented today by Underdog. Download the Underdog app. Get your picks in for any sporting event on the calendar, a.k.a. the NFL playoffs. My favorite weekend of the NFL season is the divisional round of the playoffs. I think you get the best games. I love Championship Sunday. The Super Bowl is special. But the Super Bowl, you have a lot of people who know nothing about football that watch their one game a year. To me, for the real football fan, divisional weekend is the best. So get your picks in across all the games with Underdog. Deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you use my promo code. That's Asman when you sign up. If you've never used Underdog, you're missing out. It is a lot of fun. So check it out. Eric with a super chat. He cuts the line. Thank you, Eric. Parcells is the last non-first-time head coach. How many years are the Jets going to ride the same train? Bring in McCarthy, knows Rodgers, and Adams. Okay, so Eric, I see your point. However, Bill Parcells is not the last head coach with previous head coaching experience that the New York Jets have hired.
And Jet fans are clueless. I mean, they're dopes. They don't know anything. This is a really good hire. Gase is a great coach. Okay, Adam Gase is Kyle Shanahan before Kyle Shanahan. Gase is a great coach.
That was the last time they hired a coach with previous head coaching experience. He never should have been hired in the first place. I want an experienced coach. You guys know I really like Brian Flores. He didn't end great in Miami, but I think he's a good coach. 10-6, 9-7, last 2 years there. Not great rosters, not great quarterback play. He's going to end up being right on what Tua is as a player. He needs to handle his relationships better with Tua. But I think he learned from that experience. If he has a plan for what his offensive staff will look like, because that was really his biggest issue, I like the guy from Brooklyn getting a second chance. I still like Brian Flores. I think he's what they need. I like Aaron Glenn too, but he's never been a head coach. Brian Flores has. So we'll see. Comments, questions, super chats. Jason in Jerusalem next up on the Gusbuster Umbrella Hotline. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jake. How you doing?
Uh-oh.
Jake, you with me?
I am. Are you with me, though?
I'm with you. Okay. Just wanted to look it up. I just went to my computer. What's Gruden's record per season? Because I don't remember him doing all that well his second go-round.
He wasn't great with the Raiders. What were they? 4-12, 8-8, 8-8, and then he got fired at 3-2.
Yeah. So where's all the? I can understand why you don't want Gruden. I mean, he cost a fortune. The Raiders gave him a ton. It's almost like when the emails came out that they had an out and were able to fire him with cause, and were able to save themselves a boatload of money.
They didn't want to fire him, Jason. They loved him there. Remember, he took over a terrible situation. They were rebuilding completely. The issue with Gruden is, to me, not his record. The issue to me with Gruden is they just didn't draft well. And he brought in Mike Mayock to be his handpicked GM, and Mayock stunk. And Gruden had a lot to say, I'm sure, with the picks. But I think Gruden can coach. I think he's a guy that also wouldn't cost as much as you think because he really wants back in. He's in no position to be demanding top dollar. He really wants to coach again, is my understanding.
Right. Listen to your show last night, this morning. Time difference, so I can't listen to it live. All this talk about Aaron Glenn and who he's going to take as his offensive staff. One thing that I think we're forgetting here, and I think this matters quite a lot, that if Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both get jobs, then both are going to be poaching from the same staff, more or less.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have first rights as to who you're choosing. Detroit's going to retain a bunch of people to give them upgrades in staff, give them promotions. Ben Johnson's going to take them wherever he goes. My guess is going to be Chicago. And, Aaron Glenn is left to pick. If you're an offensive coordinator, if you're offensive staff on one of those teams, I think Glenn is the third option between the three. You stay where you are with a promotion, move with your offensive boss to a new place. Why would you switch over to the defensive guy?
Well, because Ben Johnson's going to call the plays wherever he goes. So if you're an offensive guy, Glenn's going to give you a chance to be a play caller, which then puts you in line to be a head coach if you do a good job. So that's part of the deal.
But that's only talking about the OC. We're talking about every position. I'm talking about even just more than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you got to understand, I don't think Aaron Glenn's only taking guys from the Lions. Aaron Glenn coached for the Saints. Aaron Glenn has a scouting background. Aaron Glenn as a player played for multiple teams. Like, he's been around the NFL his whole life. So, like, he's a guy that I'd imagine would have a ton of relationships with different coaching options for his staff.
Agreed. I just don't think that he gets first, he doesn't get the first pick. I could see him walking into a meeting and saying, this is my ideal choice. And then push comes to shove, he gets the job. That person doesn't follow him. As opposed to a Flores, as opposed to a McCown. He's not necessarily fighting with somebody else for that person's job, to give him a similar position.
Typically, my understanding on how it works is these coaches already know who they bring with them. Like, it's already been kind of worked out.
Until Eberflus gets busted with McDaniels backing out of the Indy job.
Yeah, I mean, that does happen. So you obviously, look, nothing, as Rick says here, it's well said, nothing's a guarantee, but I think Aaron Glenn is going to have a good staff.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed with Glenn. I wouldn't be disappointed with Flores. I'm making it clear, personally, I want McCown. But all this talk of Nagy, if they get the guy from KC to be the GM, I do not want Matt Nagy to be the head coach. We tend to make excuses when it comes to a guy's second go-round. And we're doing it with Flores, but you could say it's justified. We're doing it with Brian Gain if he becomes the GM here. Why it didn't work out with Houston, and that's probably right. But when you start making excuses for why it failed the first go-round, I'd rather give a guy a first chance.
I don't know. GM-wise, if they're going to hire Glenn, I'd prefer the GM to be someone who's been a GM before. Like, if you told me it's Thomas Dimitroff and Aaron Glenn, I'd be really excited.
Okay. Who would you want with a rookie GM? You'd want a veteran head coach?
Look, if it's a rookie GM, who would I want? I mean, I would prefer a head coach with experience, sure, but I'm not taking Matt Nagy over Aaron Glenn, for example. I'm not taking Arthur Smith over Glenn just because, well, they've been coaches before. Like, I prefer experience, but I'm also not going to cut my nose to spite my face by only going with someone with experience, and that experience is they weren't very good. That's why I like Flores, because he has experience. I thought he did a good job. It was an incomplete grade because he didn't get more than 3 years coming off 2 winning seasons.
Right. I'm actually surprised New England didn't interview David Culley, considering who they reached out to. Any thoughts on that?
I think he's retired. That's why.
Well, why not? Even more so, nobody else is fighting him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they spoke to 2 guys that are not in football either, so I think they did okay.
Yeah. I mean, what's that high school that Adam Gase is at now? Maybe see if the janitor wants a position there.
It's not true that he's coaching high school, right?
I know. It was a great joke. The same way that helmet story of Ricky Henderson with John Olerud wasn't true.
Yeah.
But sometimes the false stories are just the best.
100%. Jason, great call.
Happy birthday to your brother.
There we go. The great Jason in Jerusalem doing his thing. Open phone lines for anyone who wants in on the conversation. Feels like we have some beef brewing in the chat. Bernard Nixon, BMAC, he writes in, Rick Kent, the loser. Wow. Rick Kent responds, I won't even dignify you with a response, you moron. Bernard says, Jake, I love you. I'm fixing my crap Wi-Fi. I love Rick Kent, BMAC. Why are you going after Rick Kent? He's a great guy. What did Rick Kent do to you? And BMAC, have you tried calling in from your phone? Why don't you do that first? Do what Ricky NY did. He figured it out. He fixed it. Comments, questions, super chats. I need some callers here, people. Last chance to get in, or we will have a short show. I also want to remind people to please join the Patreon if you haven't. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. I announced something exclusive for Discord users yesterday about our plans for the Super Bowl. So check that out. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Your name is in the intro. If you join the Patreon, your discount code is now 20% for every item in my merch store. You receive exclusive access to that Discord you heard me just reference. And you get bonus shows every month that are not on YouTube. How about that? Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Less than a cup of coffee a month to help keep this show rolling, baby. Papa Jet, Joshua Burgos, and Joseph Rumpelo, thank you for being our 3 most recent Patreon subscribers. Trying to get the 500 Patreon subscribers, man. We were close, and then everyone started canceling once the Jets sucked, as if I had anything to do with it. Insane. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad this guy is called in because the New York Jets interviewed one of his candidates of choice, or will interview one of his candidates of choice later today.
We got to get rid of Yul Brick and then go after Gabriel first. Then I want Queensberry. Got to look at the monkey guy. I like Floney. And maybe Slow Dick in Houston is the answer.
Well, I would bring you Peter Castro, but he just was on and then left. What the heck? Castro, call back in. I saw you down there, and then I clicked the button to bring you on, and you're gone. Gator writes in, at least BMAC doesn't fart on kids. Gator is accusing Rick Kent of farting on children, which is, objectively speaking, false, Gator. You made that video and slandered the good name of Rick Kent. It is not true. How dare you? M. Morris brings up the fact that Beast fixed his internet too. He did. He did. Leon says, Jake, predict the head coach openings. All right. I'll try. Jets, Aaron Glenn. Bears. Bears is tricky. They've interviewed everyone. I'll come back to the Bears. Saints, Mike McCarthy. Jaguars, Liam Cohen. Raiders, Ben Johnson. Patriots already hired Vrabel. We need Cowboys now. Cowboys and Bears. Cowboys, I'll say Dion. Why not? Let's go crazy, Jerry. And Bears, I'll say Pete Carroll. I think they try and bring in a stabilizing voice. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Hit the like button. Comments, questions, super chats. Bernard wrote in that I hurt his feelings. Well, I'll tell you what, Bernard, you got to get your internet fixed. I'm tired of this nonsense. More of your calls right now. I just tried to bring this guy on. Unfortunately, he dropped off. But the good thing is he has called back in.
The biggest mistake they made is not firing this whole crew of shitheads before the season started. The coaches can't make decisions. They don't correct anything. I mean, this is a joke.
There he is.
Hey, Jake.
What's up, Peter?
How you been?
I'm good, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. Listen, whether the Jets get Flores or Glenn or one of those two, if I were them, I would call in Joe Brady and give him a raise, try to get him away from Buffalo.
Why would he leave?
What do you think of that idea? One of them with Brady.
Why would he leave?
You hear me?
I do hear you. I guess you don't hear me. Hello?
Yes, I hear you.
Why would Joe Brady leave, Peter?
More money.
The Bills will match any offer. And also, Joe Brady has a chance to be a head coach this hiring cycle. And if he doesn't this hiring cycle, he's better suited to stay with Josh Allen another year as Allen continues to play the best ball of his career, might win his first ever MVP this season. And he could be a head coach next year. He's only 35, 36 years old. I don't think he'd leave to go be the Jet OC when the Jets don't even have a quarterback in place right now.
Who do you like as a quarterback next year?
I hope it's Rodgers on a pay cut and modern offense, but I think that's unlikely. I think it's going to be Tyrod and another quarterback like Fields they sign.
Okay. All right. I was just thinking of Brady coming in with either one of them. I would like it. But like I would say, it's not going to happen.
I would like to make sweet love to Sidney Sweeney as well, Peter.
Well, what if you make him assistant head coach?
I that's not to me enough of a promotion for him. Like it's just a title. It's not going to help him become a head coach.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jake.
Now, Peter, before you go, what did you think of Neil and Beastbreaker's interaction on the show this week? It feels like, unlike you, Neil and Beastbreaker really hit it off and see eye to eye.
Neil and Beastbreaker. Beastbreaker's an idiot. You know, he's just an idiot. I don't want. He doesn't even know who the front line is for the Jets. He doesn't Gastineau, Kyle Clifton. Come on, he doesn't know anything about football. He wants to make 4 head coaches. He wants to make 4 head coaches, all coaches. You know, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's incoherent.
I
He's
think
a
he makes
wrestling
some
fan.
salient points.
What's that?
I think he makes some salient points.
Yeah, once in a while he hits on one by accident. I don't. You know, I don't. He's entertaining. That's about it.
So you do think he's entertaining?
Oh yeah, he's entertaining for sure.
What are your thoughts on his famous quote, "Hate me or love me, you watched"?
You have no choice. If I'm watching your show, I gotta watch him.
Would you like to say hello to him?
Sure, I'll say hello to him.
All right, I want to try and mend this relationship. This is not a rumble. I want to be clear, all right? I want to bring you two together. You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now on the Gusbuster hotline is none other than the Beast.
Holy crap, here comes Beastbreaker 666.
Why don't you get your fat ass on a treadmill and go the distance with me?
Is that Bobby Midnight?
I'm not into politics, and I already told you that.
I might be big, but I'm going to be bad enough to put you out.
Beastbreaker always has some salient points.
Beast, how are you?
Good. Just doing a little bit of reading there.
What are you reading?
Well, I'm working on putting a book together. Right now, I'm going through all this and just reading, what is it? I put a lot of stuff about the wrestling thing, about the very first WrestleMania of '85 and everything else. I've been pages together. It's a pain in the ass, but read the fine print and weep.
You have beautiful penmanship, Beast.
Well, when you learn, you learn. That's the way the world works. Now, I'm gonna say there's also one more idiot on here, and I'm gonna direct this to. There's a Bobby Beasley on here. He's a fake New York Jet clown. I know this jerk off. He's a lying disgrace. He thinks he had sex with Britt Baker. That was fatally false. He photo ops like a little child, and I'm going to put him in his place as of today if he continues with this dreaded nonsense in the hole. I'm not going to say no more. I'm going to be calm about it, and I'm not going to yell and scream today. I don't need this jerk off on here because this guy, he's a packer, he's a slap nut, and he also needs a good size Red Foreman foot, you know where, in the ass.
All right. Understood.
Enough said. Enough said.
Beast, can you and Peter Castro get on the same page here? You both love the Jets. You're both very passionate. What's it going to take?
Well, he does look like a version of what was it? I can't think of the guy's name. He was John's friend from The Sopranos. Oh shit! And he was such a he was an asshole on the show. Not Sil, not Paulie, he was kind of a smart ass because he used to work with John, on the Sopranos. He was part of the mob. You don't remember that?
No.
I do. You need to watch Sopranos a little bit more, but back to business. I think we're gonna wind up getting Rex, Aaron, and Brian Flores. That's it. Enough said.
How are you gonna get those are three head coaches. You're not gonna get 3 head coaches.
Do you hear what I'm doing? Case adjourned. Case
Sounds like
adjourned.
You're playing with yourself.
No.
Hey, Beast, are you thinking of Phil Leotardo?
Yeah, that's it. That's the guy. That's him. That's right there. That's Phil. Phil Leotardo. Yeah, perfect name. Thanks, Jake. Now I should get you some tostadas and maybe maybe a little salsa to go da 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 da. Hey, little Mexican music ain't gonna hurt. Not gonna hurt at all. As a matter of fact, Cinco de Mayo's coming up, and you know what? I'm gonna get down and get funky. Let me put a sombrero hat on and go, hey, at least I gotta do the cha-cha. Everybody do the cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. But let's get back to business. Castro, you're a great guy, but you do look like Phil from The Sopranos. I'm not gonna take anything away from you.
I think Phil's
you look like Bobby Bacala. You know what that is?
Yes, I do. Tony Soprano told him, hey, get off my car before you flip it, you fat you-know-what. I think you should consider eating more salads. Now this case, Case adjourned. Case
Adjourned.
adjourned. 5-minute recess.
What you want? You're gonna be nice from now
No
on.
yell.
You're gonna respect all the
everybody,
people on this show.
everybody. Hey, there's always certain people I watch for because I can see through the BS. All you got to do is watch. If you don't watch, remember, if the left hook don't get you, the right one will.
You could be swimming with the fishes.
I don't. Hey, the only fishes I eat is Swedish fish.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, you're dismissed. Now you're dismissed. Thank you very much.
Dismissed. You can go backstage and stay there all day and do a diaper change every 10 minutes.
Hey, shut your Hey, you wanna go now?
Go back there and do a diaper change and shut up.
Shut up.
Who's gonna listen to you? You fucking lard ass.
No, Peter.
Hey, lard ass. Excuse me.
No, we were doing
Don't
so well.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
Someone clipped Beast. He's gone. He disappeared.
Good.
Someone got him.
Good.
Wow. He's gone. He's a
loser. Tell him I said so. He's a loser.
I'm hearing reports of his return.
Beast Breaker 666. He's the man who would kick your ass, and then he'd gobble-goo.
You got a problem with that? Hey,
you're eating some more gabagool? You eating some more gabagool?
Shut up. Shut up,
fat boy, if I smack the shit out of you. Shit out
Austin
and shut up.
Hey,
You
go.
fat waste of shit. You
go
fucking lard
three
ass.
yourself. Go three
lard
yourself.
Ass. Sit there and shut the
Get
fuck
that out
up.
of here.
I don't want to hear
How
your
about suck
bullshit.
it?
You don't know
Hey.
a football player from a ice hockey player.
Yeah,
What kind
get
of
right
athlete are
here.
you? Yeah, look at the
I'm
belly
more
on
man
you.
than you are. Yeah, I'm
Go
more
eat
man
some more
than you are, you
gabagool.
fat pig.
Go eat
You're
some
a
more
pig.
gabagool, you
Pig,
fucking bitch.
Pig.
You're nothing but a little fat bitch with a big mouth.
Pig. Suck a dick. Suck a dick. Yeah,
sausage
yeah,
sucker.
On
yeah.
behalf of the Jake
Yeah,
Asman
you're
Show,
the.
we apologize for the foul language.
Are you out of breath? You need a break?
You want to get punched? You want to go? I'm Rocky. I'm Rocky. So fuck you.
Now look what you've done.
Offensive line, defensive
Beast
line.
Breaker
Offensive line. The first thing I'm going to
666.
address-
No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to cut your call off and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. Do you understand me? You catch my drift?
Are you seriously on crack? I think somebody
Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
How about you bend over and taking up the booty hole behind the 7-Eleven?
Wow. I don't know who was winning that. It was a great back and forth, but Mike ended it with a bounty. Mike gifted 10 memberships. Peter, your thoughts on your bounty there with the Beast?
Oh, too bad. I'm sorry he sent the bounty and I wanted to finish the fat fuck off. I can't help myself.
I think there were salient points made on both sides.
I've dealt with losers like him my whole life.
Well, Peter, you said a lot today. I appreciate your contributions. And real quick, what are your thoughts on Slow Dick getting an interview with the Jets today?
Listen to me. I never said that. I don't know where Gator got that. I never said Slow Dick was one of my choices. I can't stand him. I don't want Slow Dick. I really want Brian Flores. But if we don't get him, I'll be happy with Aaron Glenn.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But I also think that they're wasting a lot of time doing this.
I just want you to know that big fella SuperChats, Peter Castro is one of my favorite
backstage?
callers. You're on the air.
Well, that's.
I'm still on there.
Okay.
Jake?
Peter, I'm here.
Oh. Am I backstage?
You're on the air, Peter. You're here.
Okay. I never said slow dick. All right. I never said that. I don't want him. I wanted Rabel or Flores, not slow dick. He stinks. I don't want him. I want right now. I want Flores. I don't care what anybody says. You guys are going to make the same mistake again with Aaron Glenn as you made with Salah. Same thing. It's like a repeat performance. Anyway, where's that fat boy? He's in the hole again.
He's in the hole. He's done.
Oh, good. Send him my regards when he gets back up again. Who sent him, big fella?
No, Mike sent him with a 10 spot.
Oh, okay. Mike's the nuts?
No, just I don't know Mike's information. It's just Mike.
Oh, okay. Well, good. So what do you think, Jake? Flores or Glenn?
I want to know what each of their staffs are, and I want to know who the GM is. Like, if they hire an inexperienced GM, I lean Flores because he's got experience as a coach. If they hire a first-time GM or an experienced GM, I'm more open to Aaron Glenn as a first-time coach. But I think a lot of it comes down to the coaching staff. Who do I think they're going to hire? I think Aaron Glenn's going to be the team's next head coach.
I like Aaron Glenn and everything, but I don't think they should make a first-time head coach again.
He would need a very experienced staff with previous coaching experience on it.
Yeah, that's why I would. How much money do you pay somebody like Flores as a head coach?
Probably $7 to $8 million a year.
All right. So you were ready to pay Rabel what, 15, 17 million?
Yeah.
I would after I hire my head coach and it's all over, I would still call Brady up, offer him a substantial pay raise to come to the Jets as an offense. And you know what? If Flores doesn't work out, you got your head coach, another head coach right there.
Yeah, look, I wish you could just bring in, another great OC and pair him up with Glenn automatically or Flores. You don't. Those jobs don't become available.
Well, I don't like any of the. They were interviewing too many guys. We all know there's 4 or 5 good guys out there. So what are they doing with these 30 different people, college coaches from all over the place, or is this just Tannenbaum pulling Woody's pants down?
I think it's some favors for agents. Some might be doing some homework on potential staff hirings. I don't have a problem with them interviewing all these people. If they interviewed some of the top guys like McCarthy, like Gruden, like Carroll, if they requested Munkin, if they requested Cohen, if they requested Kingsbury, that's my issue.
Yeah, that's my issue too. How about Ron Rivera? I wouldn't hire him in a million years.
Now, how would you feel about Beastbreaker having a head coaching interview?
Oh, that's about what we had for the last 4 years. We had Salah was like Beastbreaker. He doesn't know what he was doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know. If you ask him who the 3 Jet quarterbacks are, I guarantee he can't answer you.
I mean, you're not wrong.
No, who are the 3 Jet quarterbacks this year? He doesn't know.
No, he's focused on his book. That's why he doesn't know. He's all his time and energy is into that. If he takes a step back, he'll know everything.
What book?
He showed you his book.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see his beautiful penmanship on the screen?
Oh, yeah, but you think I could read it? What it said? I thought it was some nasty note. I didn't know what it was. That idiot is not writing a book. Are you kidding?
Now, how would you feel about me purchasing his book and sending you a copy?
I'll send it. I don't care. I'd probably throw it out. I'd look at it and throw it out.
You wouldn't read at least a chapter?
Maybe 1 chapter.
All right.
After listening to him talk, there's no knowledge that he could put on a book that would make me want to read it. He didn't even know who the Sack Exchange was. He's a nitwit.
He got one of them. He got Mark Gusto.
Mark Gusto? Mark Gusto and Kyle Clifton, who has nothing to do with the Sack Exchange. That was really good.
Peter, you're the man.
All right, Jake, have a good day.
We got to get rid of Yul Brick and then go after Gabriel first. Then I want Queensberry. Got to look at the monkey guy. I like Floney. And maybe slow dick in Houston is the answer.
We'll find out if Slow Dick in Houston is the answer. He interviews today. Hey, I want to shout out Mike for not one, but 2 10-spot of channel memberships. I don't know if this first one was to get rid of Beast because I didn't ask for a bounty when he sent it, but then I asked for a bounty and he sent it right away. But either way, that's 10 entries for Mike with this one and another 10 with the other one. 20 entries into the raffle.
It's the Asmaniac membership raffle. For every membership gifted, you receive 1 ticket entered in the raffle to win epic prizes.
I'll get to the names in a second. I just want to shout out this comment from John who says, Jay, can you get Beastbreaker to sing happy birthday to Zach? So Bobby, his daughter's dealing with a case of pneumonia. She'll be out of the hospital, I believe, soon. So hopefully Bobby Midnight can call in this afternoon and sing happy birthday to my brother because we know Bobby loves to sing. Bobby wrote in before the show, hi, all my friends. My daughter's getting out of the hospital on Sunday. So good news for Bobby, whose daughter is dealing with pneumonia right now. So feel better to Bobby's daughter. And Bobby, hope everything's okay. Let me get to some memberships here. Hopefully I can still pull them. The chat kind of went nuts, so it might be hard to get 20. But I'm definitely going to get 10. Here are the first 10 I could see. Jet Base Girl, Nick Stinchcomb, John D. Filippo. Remember he was like a hot OC candidate? Sure, it's not that guy, but still, same name. Late Night. AJ Jets, Ron P., James, Jason Yeager, Daniel Chan, all receiving channel memberships from Mike. Now, if YouTube will let me keep scrolling, I will get to the rest. It will not. So I don't know who got the other 10, but if you got one, you thank Mike. 25 writes in. The double chin is looking impeccable today. Beast. There you go. Some love for Beast from 25. Big fella wants Beast to have a nice day. Jason Picker was the first to break this news to me, and I just confirmed to make sure it was real. Bob Uecker did pass away. Legendary Major League Baseball broadcaster. So condolences to his family. That's sad. I'd say a life long lived, though, by Bob Uecker. He was the Brewers radio announcer since 71. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He won the Ford Frick Award in 03. He's been in a bunch of movies. He's a legend. So RIP to the great Bob Uecker. Also, Drub Cabra, I see your super chat. If you're just going to spout things that aren't true, we're not going to put it on in the air. All right. He had a tweet. He had a super chat about Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is still the Steelers coach. He tweeted, he sent the super chat that Tomlin got fired, according to Schefter. He did not. Mike Tomlin is still the Steelers coach. So please don't spread false information. Bo with a super chat. Peter Castro says, Gastino, Klecko, Mursrow, Lagaman, but at least he knows who they are. Fair point. Peter Castro might butcher names, but he knows them. He knows them. All right, last chance to get in here. We're 90 minutes in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Michael says, why isn't anyone interested in Gruden? We heard the reports that they were doing all this work on the guy, and no one's interviewed him. Jay Luby, how could the Tannenbaum Group not interview Gruden? I wish I knew. I wish I knew. BC says, stop comparing people. Glenn's worth the risk. I do think he's a really good candidate. Richard says, why was Beast sniped? You have to take that up with Mike. Mike gifted 10 memberships. That's the standard bounty number, that or a $50 super chat. And that's it. Once I called for it, he did it. Jersey Mike writes in, thoughts on Jordan Travis. My thoughts are, don't even consider him a real option. We don't even know if he's healthy. He's coming off a serious injury. Didn't have one NFL practice all year, despite the fact he was supposed to be ready by training camp. He had a setback, multiple, according to Ulbrich. I don't factor him at all. I think he's competing for a roster spot. If he ends up being the long-term answer, if he's the next Brock Purdy for the Jets, awesome. Don't bank on it. Dylan says, who's your head coach and GM pick? Who do I want? Dimitrov and Flores. Who do I think they're going to hire? Borgonzi and Glenn. I agree with Parkinson and Samini's prediction there. It feels like that's where the wind is headed, but we'll see. Curly wants proven head coach. So, Curly, who's your dream candidate? You want McCarthy? You're the most negative Jet fan out there. If the Jets would actually listen to their most negative fan for once, what do you believe is the best path? Big fella says, since there's 2 spots, shouldn't that mean Beast is back? Well, the first one I don't know was to bounty him. Did Mike clarify? If that's the case, is it a double negative? I see what you're saying, big fella. Now, I want the Beast to come back. I want to hear him sing Happy Birthday. He's got a great voice. You know, would Beast, would you be open to singing Happy Birthday to my brother Zach? You know, if we could get you out of the hole for a minute to sing Happy Birthday, would you do it? Because we don't have Bobby on this first show today. He's dealing with his daughter. Big fella is advocating for the Beast. See how things turn? Adam says, how much would Justin Fields want? Spot Track has it as just under $5 million, but I think he wants more. I think probably in that $5 to $8 million range, Adam. I mean, Sam Darnold got what, 1 year, $10 million for a similar situation a year ago? B-Show says, Dolphins fans here, you guys could take any of the remaining candidates and it wouldn't scare us. Maybe Ben Johnson would. Well, the Dolphins don't scare us, B-Show. I mean, both our teams aren't great. Like, you guys have major issues with your cap, your head coach. Is he the right guy? He's an offensive guy, but is he the right guy? Could Tua ever stay healthy? He misses on average 4.5 starts per year. Is Tyreek Hill going to be there? Your GM stinks. I know you're a Dolphins fan. You probably want Chris Greer gone. So I don't really care what the Jets do to scare you or scare you not. The Jets have their own problems. We're not worried about Miami, though. We got to figure our shit out. Both our teams suck. Shout out to Rex Ryan. Big ups to Bo on shouting out Jason, for shouting out Addison, for shouting out Rick Kent, for shouting out Nate's dad. Let's get some burgers. Thank you very much. Beastbreaker is willing to sing, I'm told. So for 5 memberships, I will remove him briefly from the hole to sing us a happy birthday tune for my brother Zach. He wants out. He's rip-roaring, ready to go. 5 memberships and Beast returns, and you get 5 entries in for the signed Klecko jersey and the G5 signed helmet if you want in the conversation. Dave Brigger going up and in on that Dolphins fan. Dolphins and you are garbage. Damn, Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike, who sent Beast to the hole, is bringing him back. Bang! Bang! Are you kidding me, Mike? So for the singing of a happy birthday, we are bringing the Beast back from the hole.
Beast Breaker 666, he's the man who would kick your ass, and then he'd gobble-goo.
Beast, you're on the air, baby. You're free.
Fake phone number here. I didn't want to see that there. I don't feel, right now I'm a little grouchy right now because I hate that Peter guy. I hate him. He's an idiot. He's a total idiot. I don't want Zero to do it. And that fight was not even close. It was garbage. Can we all yell it out? Do the happy birthday cha-cha-cha. Do the happy birthday cha-cha-cha. Can you hear me?
Oh, we hear you, Beast. My brother's name is Zach. He's a big fan of yours.
All right, Zachy, here's one for you. Do the happy birthday cha-cha-cha. Do the happy birthday cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha-cha. Hey, for you, Zachy, hey, let's get down. Do that happy birthday. Do the happy birthday. Cha-cha-cha. Do. There. That's called service. With a smile.
Well done, sir. Well, so I've never heard that version of the happy birthday, but I mean, the cha-cha-cha really just hit home.
Do you remember McHale's Navy?
I don't.
Ernest Borgnine was in it, and that's where I got it from. It's a show from the late 40s, early 50s. Funny show. I would highly recommend watch that show. It's too funny, especially. I would highly recommend. Check it out on YouTube. Put it in McHale's Navy. Once you watch it, you go, what the hell? It's too funny. I'm going to tell you right now. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. Can I request the...
Mike's the one who got you out of the hole. Can you sing the actual happy birthday for him? That'd be nice.
How about a little... Yo, 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 happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Cha, cha, cha. Yo, 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 it's happy birthday time. It's time to fly and die. Hey, we know what time it is. Yo, 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 it's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. You know what song that is? That's old school. I've heard that song before. I can't think of the damn name, but it's pretty cool, and I dig that hit.
Beast, you had a great run, but Mike is sending you back to the hole. Now look what you've done. Beast Breaker 666. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to cut your call off and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. Do you understand me? You catch my drift?
Are you seriously on crack? I think
give him another 24 hours to think about it.
How about you bending over and taking up the booty hole behind the 7-Eleven?
We'll see you later, Beast. Hey, appreciate the effort, though. Mike, thank you very much for the support. We got you in now for, let's see, 10 plus 30 entries for Mike, who has a chance to win the Klecko signed jersey or the signed Garrett Wilson helmet. Let me get to the channel memberships here. Let's see who got them. And you know what, Mike? You certainly deserve me playing one of these after everything you've contributed to today's show. Boom.
Now, give me money. Or I shoot him. And I shoot all you motherfuckers. And then we take it. Your choice, bitches.
Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Here are the memberships that I'm able to read off from Mike, who paved the way for greatness that you just saw on the screen. Mark Baylor, Popper Kells, Wayne, JD Jets, Devin Dobris, all receiving memberships. Okay. Now we have the next 5 from Mike: Googly, J-Lock, Will Taylor, J-Dags, all receiving, and Justin Chadwick, all receiving memberships. Congratulations. Thank you, Mike, again for your support. All right. Fun show, man. Fun show. We're back this afternoon. My guy, Mike Meltzer, is going to be joining us. I wanted to have Mike on today because the Jets are interviewing Bobby Slowick. Mike is a Jet fan. He did radio in Houston for 10 years locally. It's one of my good friends in the business. Mike is now a host on Mad Dog Sports Radio on Sirius XM. So he could talk a lot about the Jets, give his perspective on Slowick, give his perspective on everything going on. So that will be at 4 p.m. Eastern time today. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, thank you all for your support. Happy birthday to my brother Zach again. Happy anniversary to the best day of my life when the Jets beat the Patriots in the 2010 playoffs. Be nice to, I don't know, have another playoff game someday, right? That'd be fun. Just saying. God. All right. You all are wonderful. Thank you for your support. Remember one thing and one thing only on the way out of here. And it's important, so listen up. Get real close. You ready? I said, are you ready? Okay. Remember one thing. That Charles Gorman was not delivered by a stork.
Right now, what I need to have happen, Charles, I need you to put on the Gorman tank. It's Friday. The vibes are high. Put on the Charles Gorman-inspired Jake Asman Show tank top for the people.
I will maybe next week.
What? Put it on. Put it on. Oh, my God, he's doing it.
Football is back, bitches.
Give us one more spin around, all right?
Give us the full modeling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the ass. Yeah, we appreciate it.
Charles, would you like to respond to Gator? He says you look like you combed your hair with a pack of firecrackers. How come you didn't congratulate him?
I did on the baby. Yeah, he had a...
You didn't say this, though.
Hey,
Congrats on the sex.
Congrats on the sex. Oh my god.
Yeah, how do you think babies are made?
No, it's funny. True story. When I was a kid, I actually thought I came from a stork. I shit you not, man. Like, you know,
you
have all these dreams and shit. It's like, you know, here you go, here's your baby. That's what I thought happened to me when I was a kid.
So to be clear, you were not acquired via stork, right?
Yes, I was biologically made by my mother and father.
Dennis Gorman?
And my mother, Roseanne.
Shout out to them. They did a great job with you, Charles.
Was it sweet and passionate, or are you unaware of those details?
Why do I need to know those details?
I don't know. Maybe it would have. I mean, you wanted to know whether it was stork or baby making, so I don't know. Just figured you'd want intricate levels of detail.
My parents made love twice. They gave birth to my brother, and they gave birth to me.
Okay. Thank you very much for clearing that up.